Good morning, everyone. This is Julian P. Copio, together with my partner, Buenaflor, and we are going to discuss about Chapter 13, Solid and Hazardous Waste. One major category of waste is solid waste. Solid waste is any unwanted or discarded material we produce that is not liquid or gas. There are two types of solid waste. First is the industrial waste, which are waste that produced by mines, farms, and industries that supply people with goods and services. The second type of solid waste is the municipal solid waste, or MSW, which is often called garbage or trash. It consists of combined solid waste produced by homes and workplaces other than factories. This includes paper and cardboard, food waste, cans, bottles, yard waste, furniture, plastic, metal, glass, and wood. The second major category of waste is the hazardous waste or toxic waste. Any discarded materials or substance that threatens the human health or the environment because it is poisonous, dangerous, chemically reactive, corrosive, and flammable. These includes battery like the one that we use in our flashlights or cell phone batteries that we throw everywhere or just somewhere. Also, the cans that we used on gasolines and paints, which we all know that are flammable and sometimes really causes a fire. One extremely hazardous waste is the highly radioactive waste produced by nuclear power plants and nuclear weapon facilities. It is needed to be safely stored from 10,000 to 240 years depending on what radioactive isotopes they contain. So imagine no, it takes thousands of years to be stored. So how should we deal with solid waste? We can burn them or recycle solid waste or produce less of it. We can deal with solid waste we create into waste first. First is the waste management, in which we attempt to control waste in ways so that we reduce their environmental harm without seriously trying to reduce the amount of waste produced. This approach begins with the question, what do we do with the solid waste? It typically involves mixing waste together and then usually burning them or shipping them to other location. The second approach is waste reduction, in which we produce much less solid waste, and waste we produce are considered to be potential resources that we can reuse, recycle, and compost. This waste prevention approach begins with the question, how can we avoid producing so much solid? So we can avoid it by reducing the solid waste that we use. We can reduce waste by refusing and reducing resources used and by reusing, recycling, and composting what we discard, or we manage them by burying them in landfills or incinerating them. Most countries rely primarily on burial and that is incineration. That's not inspiration. But here in the Philippines, we do not usually bury our waste. We stock them in the landfills, making a pile, almost making a mountain. That is why the waste have an enormous or very sorry for the word, disgusting smell. So, we can cut solid waste by refusing, reducing, reusing, and recycling them. Waste reduction is based on the that's 4 R's, letter R, of resources use. First is refuse. If you do not want to use it, then don't buy it. Second is reduce or use less. So together with refuse, you must also reduce the things that you do not need. If you don't need it, do not buy it. Buy only the things that is usually needed. Third is reuse. Reu use it over and over. So if the appliances or anything that can be still be used, use it wisely, no? If you do not need to replace it, use it to the fullest. And the last R is recycle. Convert used resources to useful items and buy products made from recycled materials because it is more of eco-friendly. So there are 6 stages that industries and communities have used to reduce resource and use waste and pollution. First, change industrial processes to eliminate or reduce the use of harmful chemicals. Second is redesign manufacturing processes and products to use less material and energy. For example, the weight of a typical car has been reduced by about one-fourth since the 1960s through the use of lighter steel aluminum and lightweight plastics and composite materials. Third, develop products that are easy to repair, reuse, remanufacture, compost, or recycle. For example, Xerox photocopy that are leased by businesses are made of reusable or recycled parts that allow for easy remanufacturing and are projected to save the company $1 million in manufacturing cost. Fourth is eliminate or reduce and scissor repackaging. Use the following hierarchy for product packaging. No packaging, sorry for the word comma, that should be a sign. Reusable packaging and recyclable packaging. Fifth is use fee per bag collection systems that charge customers per amount of waste they throw away but provide fee pickup of recyclable and reusable items. Sixth is to pass laws that require companies to take back various consumer products such as electronic equipment, appliances, and motor vehicles, as Japan and many European countries do, for recycling or remanufacturing. Why are refusing, reducing, reusing, and recycling so important? Refusing is to buy some things, especially those with significant environmental impact, is one way to use resources more sustainably. Reducing is the next level of using resources more sustainably. Also, reuse involves cleaning and using items such as containers, dishes, utensils, and razor blades over and over, and thus increase the typical lifespan of such products. But always be careful when using utensils with a rusty part because it also has an effect to our body. Recycling and composting involves converting used items and materials to either useful forms. So these 4 R's are important, especially not just for us people, but especially for the earth that we are living. Because as time goes by, our population is growing bigger and bigger. And we cannot afford that most of the lands will be turned into landfills full of different kinds of waste. So that is why we really need to refuse, reduce, reuse, and recycle in order for us to live a longer life here in Earth.
Good day, everyone. This is Buenaflor, and today I will be continuing the report of Miss Jillian Copio about the solid and hazardous waste. So, this is prepared by yours truly. Nature does not hurry, yet, everything is accomplished. So, as we go along with this discussion, be guided with these 3 questions. First is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of burning or burying solid waste? Second, how should we deal with hazardous waste? And third, how can we make the transition to a more sustainable, low waste economy? And now, let's begin with this question. In 16.4, what are the advantages and disadvantages of burning or burying solid waste? So, the concept of 16.4, technologies of burning and burying solid waste are well developed, but burning can contribute to air and water pollution and greenhouse gas emission, and buried waste can contribute to water pollution. So some of the advantages are, it reduces energy and mineral use and air and water pollution. Second, it reduces greenhouse gas emission. And third, it reduces solid waste. So aside from advantages, there are also disadvantages. First, can cost more than burying in areas with ample landfill space. Second, reduces profit for landfill and incinerator owners. Third, inconvenient for some. Waste to energy incineration. So burning solid waste has advantages and disadvantages globally. MSW is burned in more than 800 large waste to energy incinerators, which is used the heat they generate to boil water and make steams of the heating water or interior spaces and for producing electricity. So there are advantages and disadvantages of using this one. So some of the advantages is, it reduces trash volume, produces energy, and concentrates hazardous substances into ash and for burial, and then sale of energy reduces cost. And then some of the disadvantages are, expensive to produce a hazardous waste, emits some CO2 and other in-air pollutants, and encourage waste production. Burning solid waste has advantages and disadvantages. So a waste-to-energy incinerator with pollution controls burn mix solid waste and recovers some of the energy to produce steam for the use in heating, building, or producing electricity. So this figure 16.14 solutions a state-of-the-art sanitary landfill is designed to eliminate or minimize environmental problems that plague older landfills. Burying solid waste has advantages and disadvantages. So there are 2 types of landfills. So a newer landfill called sanitary landfills, solid waste are spread out in thin layers, so compacted and covered daily with a fresh layer of clay or plastic foam. So this process helps to keep material dry, and it reduces also a linkage of contaminated water. So this is the illustration of the sanitary landfills. The second type of landfills is an open dump. So essentially, a field or a large pit where garbage is deposited and sometimes poured. So open dumps are rare in more developed countries, but are widely used near major cities and many less developed countries. So this is the illustration of the open dump. So this slide shows the difference between sanitary landfills and open dumps. 16.5. How should we deal with hazardous waste? So, a more sustainable approach to hazardous waste is first to produce less of it, then to reuse or recycle it, then to convert it to less hazardous materials, and finally to safely store what is left. So, by that, we can use integrated management of hazardous waste. So, it is by produce less hazardous waste, convert to less hazardous or non-hazardous substances, and put in a perpetual storage. Based on the case study of recycling e-waste, according to the United Nations, more than 70% of the world e-waste is shipped to China, a center for such a waste in a small part of city of Guiyou, where the air reeks of burning plastic and acid fumes. So there are more than 5,500 small-scale e-waste businesses employ over 30,000 people, including children. So they work very low wages in dangerous conditions to extract valuable metals like gold, silver, copper, various rare earth metals. We can detoxify hazardous waste, so the first steps in dealing with hazardous waste is to collect them. From there are undertaken into a large processing facility where 3 to 4 of the waste is detoxified with physical, chemical, and biological methods. So when we talk about physical methods for detoxifying hazardous waste, it includes using charcoal or resins to filter out harmful solid, distilling liquid waste to separate out harmful chemicals, and precipitating such chemical from solution. So second is chemical method. So it is used to convert hazardous chemicals to harmless or less harmful chemicals through chemical reaction. And then biological methods used for treatment of hazardous waste to be the wave of the future. We can also deoxify hazardous waste by using plasma gasification. It is a technology that uses arc of electrical energy to produce at very high temperatures in order to vaporize trash in the absence of oxygen. One such approach is bioremediation, in which bacteria and enzymes help to destroy toxic or hazardous substances to convert them to harmless compounds. Bioremediation takes a little longer to work than most physical and chemical methods, but it costs much less. Another approach is the phytoremediation, which involves using natural or genetically engineered plants to absorb, filter, and remove contaminants from polluted soil and water. So we can also store some forms of hazardous waste. So one of the most common form of burial is deep well disposal, in which liquid hazardous waste are pumped under high pressure through a pipe into dry porous rock formation far beneath aquifers that are tapped for drinking and irrigation water. So there are two types, deep well disposal and surface impoundments. So these two form has advantages and disadvantages. So the following are the advantages and disadvantages of the surface impoundments and deep well disposal. So let's begin to the deep well disposal advantages. So it is safe if sites are chosen carefully, waste can often be retrieved, and then low cost. And then disadvantages are the following. Leaks can offer from corrosion if well casing, emits CO2 and other air pollutants, and output approach that encourages waste reduction. So the surface impoundment advantages, so low cost, waste can often be retrieved, can store waste indefinitely with secure double liners. The disadvantages are water pollution from leaking liners and overflows, air pollution from volatile organic compounds, and an output approach that encourages waste reduction. So how can we make the transition to a more sustainable low-waste economy? So shifting to a low-waste economy will require individuals and businesses to reduce resource use and to reuse and recycle most solid and hazardous waste at local, national, and global levels. So the first action is grassroots action has led to better solid and hazardous waste management. Second is we can encourage reuse and recycling. So the question is how? How can we encourage the reuse and recycling? So the proponent says that leveling the economic playing field is the best way to start. So government can increase subsidies and tax breaks of reusing and recycling materials and decrease subsidies and tax breaks for making items from virgin resources. So another strategy is to greatly increase the use of free per bag waste collection system that charges household for trash they throw away but not for the recyclable and reusable waste. So reuse, recycling, and composting present economic opportunities. International treaties have reduces hazardous waste, and then we can make transition to low waste economies. So according to the physician Albert Einstein, a clever person solves a problem, a wise person avoids it. So before we end up, let's focus into this quotation. We don't want to live in a trash can, right? So stop making it one. Thank you for listening.